Welcome back, after quite a while, to another episode of Bourbon with a taste of military history. Today we're going to talk about some southern bourbons that some really close friends of mine gave me as a gift. They're from Georgia, and they live here in Little Rock now, and they were in Georgia and saw this and wanted me to have this bottle of bourbon and asked me to do a review of it and then put it on my channel. So I did. We're going to talk about it in a little bit here in a minute, and then we're going to talk about a Civil War battle that happened in Georgia during the March to the Sea by General Sherman. We're going to talk about the Battle of Kennesaw Mountain. That was fought on July 27, 1864, outside of Atlanta. The battle has a little bit of importance to myself, as I was a brand new second lieutenant in the Arkansas National Guard. You know, they send you to what's called your officer basic course, and basically that's your school that you go to learn how to be an officer in your chosen specialty. Mine was in nuclear, biological, chemical warfare, and I was sent to Fort McClellan, Alabama, which, by the way, I also did my basic training and my AIT as a private way back in the early 70s. So getting back to Fort McClellan was really nice. But one of my first things that we did while we were there, we did what was called a staff ride. All officers participate in staff rides. It's the Army's way of giving us a chance to see decisions that were made on the actual battlefield and see what the leaders who were involved in those actions saw at the time. So it gives you an opportunity to learn and see from what they did and try to understand why they made the decisions they did based upon the topography and the layout of the land and stuff like that. So we did the Battle of Kennesaw Mountain, and I was able to select Brigadier General McPherson. And we'll talk about him after the battle. But what I'd like to do right now, before we even get into talking about the whiskey and all that, is I've got some kind of exciting news. I'm changing studios. Or what I'm doing is building a new studio. Right now I'm filming down in the basement of my house. Well, not actually basement, the game room. And whereas it's real nice, my wife doesn't find it conducive to what she wants to do down here. So she's telling me to clean up my mess down here. So it's because I retired, it's given me the opportunity to start building a new studio / man cave / library / museum. And right now I'd like to take you on a tour of that and just show you what we're doing. And I think when we start doing more and more episodes, as I plan on doing, you know, we'll go ahead and I'll update you each and every time we do an episode on the progress that I'm making inside my new man cave / studio. So let's take a tour of my new studio. Okay. All right, so we're going to take and start off in the outdoor entrance to my man cave. Pretty neat that I have an ability to go from the inside to the cave and from the outside to the cave. So we're going to redo this door right here. It's going to be more of a medieval type door. I've got new lighting coming in and all that. So hey, come on in, let's look at this right here. So as you can see, this room is nowhere near completion, but it's so much further advanced than what it used to be. This used to be just a dirt floor with concrete around it. And since then, we've concreted the floor, we've put tile down, we've framed it. Right now, we're doing the electricity in it, and that'll be done by Friday. And then we'll start, we've done some air conditioning work, and then starting next week, we'll start doing the walls. And the walls, what I intend to do with the walls in this room is kind of give it that 40s, 50 Pentagon-ish, you know, military officers club look. I'm going to use Vietnamese pine, Vietnamese plywood, and with molding, and we'll do a dark mahogany type look. I got a really nice bookcase that I got out of a house in Washington, D.C. Got a bar that I bought from a bar that went out of business at downtown Little Rock. And we'll turn this will be the studio. This room will actually be the studio when we're done. We're going into the room now that I've been working at the most. And this room right here is going to be my office. You know, I'll put a desk over there, and as you can see right now, the electricity will be done Friday, like I said, and we'll do all 3 of these rooms in electricity. And I'm already started doing the walls. I finished the floor. I've got all my bookcases built. You know, this section right here, and then we'll just keep working in here until it's done. Now, once these 3 rooms are done, the studio's done, the office is done, and the library's done, then we'll go off into the museum portion of that, which I'll show you later at a different episode, and we'll start constructing the museum. So that's where we're at right now. Let's go in and taste some bourbon. All right, for the bourbon today, we're going to try Southern Bourbon whiskey. It's handcrafted in oak barrels in small batches and comes out of the 13th Colony Distillery, which is located in Americus, Georgia. So, like I said earlier, this bottle was given to me as a present from the Snapes, who their mom, Meredith, and I coached together, and their kids all run track for me. And they're Georgia people, true blue, but they do live in Arkansas now. And they bought me this, and I told them I would go ahead and do this, and I'm excited to do it. So we're going to do what we normally do. We're going to go ahead and pour a little bit and try it and get some smell out of it. Now, I have, as you can see, I've already drank some of this. It's not like I just broke it open. You know, I'd like to maybe test everything before I do it. So you can see, when you look at it, you know, once again, you know, and I give you that disclaimer, I'm no expert on this. I'm just a guy who likes to drink bourbon and talk about history. That's pretty much it. A retired guy by that. But what I see is a very nice dark caramel, coppery color. If you hold it up to the light, it still maintains that. I can see that it's holding its legs in the glass and all that, which I like. Let's see if we can get a sniff for what it is, and we'll talk a little bit about it. Okay, I'm getting a sweetness. And you guys know we've talked about this before. My nose is not the best, but I do get a little sweetness out of that. And I can smell the barrel a little bit, the oak, which is good because that's my favorite. I mean, I like a little oaky taste in my bourbon. So their website, which I went to, said it's crafted from hand-selected barrels. The traditional bourbon is produced from a mash bill of predominantly corn, along with rye and malted barley. I think the malted barley is what I smell more than anything on any type of bourbon that uses barley. I think my nose may have I don't want to call it a sweet spot, but a spot where I can smell barley. Then it's meticulously aged for 4 years, got it like a 4-year-old, in custom charred American oak barrels for a smooth, rich, and slightly sweet finish. So it's a gold medal winner, 90 points from the 2014 Beverage Tasting Institute. I think that you will like this because I think, as I've tried it before, I've liked it. So let's take a little taste of it. You know, you get a little burn top of my mouth from it. Feel it going down, nice warm. I like that taste. What am I tasting though? It's kind of sweet. The webpage doesn't really go into like if you're going to taste this or that or this or that. So that's a good thing. I mean, it kind of makes you want to go ahead and buy it just so you can taste it. But it's not overly sweet. Don't get me wrong there. It's not overly sweet. In fact, ooh, I'm still getting a good hug here from that little bit I drank. I was going to take another drink, but I kind of want to give this one a chance to settle a little bit. I like that. I like that a lot. Of course, I think you guys hear that from me a lot. There's not too many bourbons out there that I don't like. I wish I could give you a better, I wish my palate was more attuned to the different tastes, maybe had I been trained in that. But I think, you know, that I've drank enough and ate enough over the years that, you know, I'm not going to get that, the ability to just pick little things out and say I taste a caramel here, I taste nutmeg here, you know, stuff like that. I'm envious of people that can do that, of course. I'm sometimes suspicious if they can do it, or if they've just not memorized, you know, what they've read. But I'm sure that there's people trained in how to break out the little nuances of each and every ingredient that goes into the bourbon. It would be neat to go to Americus, Georgia, and go to 13th Colony and watch how they do this and talk to the distiller and see exactly what they do. Now, what we normally do from this part on is, you know, I'll take mine from here, and you'll see that I've already poured some in there with some ice. And the reason that is because earlier we filmed for my intro me pouring some bourbon in a glass, because I'm trying to take this web page or this YouTube channel to a different level. So let's try it with some ice, see how much that affects the taste, and then we'll get into the Battle of Kennesaw Mountain a little bit, and we'll talk a few other things about some books. See, totally different taste. Not bad, but you know what the water or the ice cubes do when they do that, of course, to all you bourbon drinkers will know this, is that it takes that proof down and it takes away that burn. So you just get a smooth taste going in, and not necessarily the burn that you would get from maybe even a higher proof alcohol bourbon, but because this is only 90 proof. But yeah, that's good. I like that. I'm tasting something a little bit different. Something else. Water brought something else out. Not sure what it is, but it's good. All right, let's talk a little bit about this battle, and get the history portion done, and then we're going to talk about a couple other things before we finish this up. So the Battle of Kennesaw Mountain was fought on June 27th, 1864 in Georgia, just outside of Atlanta, during the Atlanta campaign of the American Civil War. It was the most significant frontal assault launched by the Union Major General William T. Sherman against the Confederate Army of Tennessee, again under General Joseph E. Johnson. This ended in a tactical defeat for the Union. Strategically, however, the battle failed to deliver the results that the Confederacy needed, and that was to halt Sherman's advance on Atlanta. The Union forces that were involved were under William T. Sherman, Army of the Cumberland, Army of the Ohio, and Army of the Tennessee, about 16,200 plus strong. In the Confederacy, of course, they were under General Joseph E. Johnson, Army of Tennessee, 17,700. The casualties, Confederates lost around 1,000, Union lost about 3,000. One of the most significant parts of this battle, and we talked about a little bit earlier, was, you know, during the staff ride, you know, that I played. I know you hear Bruno barking, and I apologize for that. There's something inside one of my storage rooms, and he can't seem to find it. I don't know if it's a snake or if it's some mice, but he barks at them constantly. It's just what he lives to do. So try to block that out a little bit if you don't mind. But General McPherson was the second highest ranking general in the Union Army to lose his life during the Battle of the Civil War. You know, it's just strange that how McPherson was killed. You know, during part of the battle, he was going from his headquarters to Sherman's headquarters, and he actually took a wrong road with his small group of guards or entourage that he took with him when he went to visit, you know, General Sherman. And he surprised a small group of Confederate soldiers that were pretty much just there. I mean, they were not involved. They weren't waiting on him. They didn't know he was coming. But when they approached, I think they gave him the opportunity to surrender, and he tried to flee with his soldiers, and they fired on him, and he was killed. So it was a big blow for the Union Army, but they were able to rally, and of course, you know, the rest of the history is written. You know, Sherman moved on Atlanta, and then on to the sea, causing much burning and devastation of the South. You know, that maybe to this day has not ever really fully recovered from that time. But, you know, it's what Sherman had advised Grant that he was going to do, and Grant had given him the okay to do that, so he did that. You know, Sherman's campaign began on May 7th in 1864. They were leaving from Chattanooga. You know, the Battle of Chattanooga is another thing we can talk about one of these days. It's another battlefield that I've been at. I've enjoyed my time going to these battlefields. And I think you would too if you've got to go there. I mean, we could talk about the Battle of Kennesaw Mountain all day long. I mean, I'm not going to bore you about that. as I told you earlier, I didn't really want this one to run a long time today because it's my first one back. And the most important thing I wanted to show you was my new studio / man cave library, and I want to share this journey with you guys of my construction of it, because I'm doing most of it by myself. And I'm by no means a carpenter, I'm no means any kind of contractor. You know, I'm retired Army, retired police, you know, have not been doing much with my hands my whole life, so I'm learning as I go, and I am making lots of mistakes. Thank goodness I have a son that's a contractor, and he can come in and fix most of them and take care of me. So I'd like to wrap this up a little bit here in a minute to tell you a little bit what I'm doing during this pandemic, this COVID-19 thing. One of the things I've decided to do every day is read. You know, I have a huge library, probably 6,000 plus books on military battles, weapons, you know, you name it. If it's involved in the military, you know, I've probably got part of it somewhere. So I've never really spent time reading those books. I've just been collecting and logging them in my computer and putting them in my library. I made a decision that, you know, every morning after I drank my coffee and read the paper, that I would read one chapter a day of a book, a real history book about a battle or something to do with the military. So the first book I read was about the Battle of the Bulge. You know, I kind of think I'm a bulge expert. Nowhere near it, though, apparently, after reading that book, because there's a lot of things that happened during the Battle of the Bulge that I wasn't aware of. But this is a very in-depth book about the movements of the Germans and the Americans every day, and it was kind of broken down that by day, you know, how the moves were made and some of these things that, the hardships that both Germans and the American soldiers went through, and some of the atrocities that were committed by both sides. So it was a really good book on the Battle of the Bulge, and just goes, of course, feeds my fuel to go to Brussels, Belgium, or go to Belgium to the Bastogne area and tour the Battle of the Bulge, and go to all these places that they've been to. So my next book, the one I'm reading right now, and I'm thoroughly enjoying it, by the way, is called Matterhorn. And this is a book on Vietnam. And at first, when I started reading it, I remember buying it a long time ago, and because it came out in 2010 to great reviews. And there was a lot of stuff talked about it, and I'd like to read about the Vietnam War, so I bought it, but I never did start reading it. Well, I started reading it, and come to find out that it's not a non-fiction book. It's actually a work of fiction by the author. But with that being said, the author, or at least I believe, was in Vietnam. He was a platoon leader and a young Marine, and this is probably fashioned on a couple battles that he was involved in. So I'm going to take it from face value that most of what I'm reading in there he experienced as with his time in Vietnam. I'm said that the author, Carl Marlantes, spent 30 years writing this book, and I'm just telling you, I sometimes wish that I had not told that I was going to give myself one chapter a day, because I wake up every morning very anticipating, wanting to read what Lieutenant Mellaz, who is the main lieutenant in this, and his company or his platoon of Marines are doing in Vietnam. I look forward to it every day, and I'm going to be very disappointed when the book is finished. So I recommend it highly to you if you're a Vietnam war history person, or if you're just a person who wants to read about Marines, or just want to read a good war book. It's excellent. It's called Matterhorn. It takes place in Northwest Vietnam in the 60s. I think you will enjoy it immensely. Well, that's pretty much all I have for today. I promise you that I am going to try to shoot a video a week now, and we'll talk about some other things, and I'm definitely going to keep you lined up with what's going on in the man cave there. So be prepared for updates. Hey, you know, as my good friends on Outdoors with the Morgans, oh, by the way, I'm going to give them a plug. It's a YouTube channel called Outdoors with the Morgans, one of my favorite channels. And most people may not really, it's not exciting, it's just a guy and his wife and his family living in Pennsylvania, owning 200 to 300 acres of land, and it shows them taking care of their land, cutting trees, splitting wood, stuff like that. It's relaxing to me, and I really enjoy it. But it's like he says at the end of every one of his videos. If you like the video, hit the like button, share it with your friends, leave comments below because I am just like them. I would like to know how to make this better. And have a great day. Thank you.